Good evening. This is April 17, Wednesday. It is 7:40, and we're convening a meeting of the Community Preservation Committee. On our agenda tonight, the first thing is a public hearing in which we will discuss our warrant articles for the town meeting and also our annual work plan, which is something that is required that we do by the Community Preservation Act. We also will have updates on a number of projects, including Gumps Farm, let's see, the H. Olive Day Playground Project, Highland Lake, Recreation Master Plan, which was approved at the Fall Town Meeting, and we might get around to discussing project signs if we're also inclined. So first item of business is our public hearing. And I guess I will call that to order at 7:30. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Our public hearing is open. First, I'll read the notice of the public hearing that appeared in the newspaper. So, notice is hereby given in accordance with Chapter 44B, the Community Preservation Act. The Norfolk Community Preservation Committee will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, April 17, 2013 at 7:30 in room 214, although we're actually in room 124, at the Norfolk Town Hall to receive public comment on the warrant articles submitted for the annual town meeting and the annual work plan. All funds for the 3 warrant articles summarized below are to be paid from the Town of Norfolk Community Preservation Fund. One is to appropriate $35,000 for administrative and operating budget. Article 2, to reserve a sum of money equal to 10% for future appropriation in each category of open space, affordable housing, and historic resources. Article 3, to allocate an amount for the rehabilitation of the playground area at the H. Olive Day School, including the replacement of equipment and reconstruction of the playfield. And also, our newspaper article also said a copy of warrant articles can be obtained by calling the Community Preservation Office. So we'll get right into the 3 articles. They are, 2 of them are very standard and 1 is new. The first article is to appropriate the $35,000 from our annual revenues for the purpose of funding the administrative and operating budget for the Community Preservation Committee. This is an amount that we have been consistently putting on for a number of years. In probably 99% of years, we do not spend anywhere near that amount. But in a couple of years, quite a ways past, we did spend that amount because we had a number of properties that we were looking or we were evaluating as far as acquiring, and we had to pay for various fees such as appraisals. And again, any of that amount that is not spent during the fiscal year is returned to the general fund for the community preservation budget. It doesn't accumulate over time. So is there any discussion on the board, or does anyone have anything to add on that particular warrant article? Questions from the audience?
I approve.
So our second article, I don't know where they will be labeled exactly in the town meeting warrant, is to vote the state mandated minimum amount of 10% for each of open space creation, acquisition, and preservation, 10% for affordable housing creation, preservation, and support, and 10% for the acquisition, preservation, rehabilitation, and restoration of historic resources. These are state-mandated minimum amounts that are drawn from our tax revenues every year. They are put into these, we call them our buckets, our 3 buckets, to draw upon for various projects. That does not mean that if we only have a certain amount in, say, historic resources, we can't spend more than that amount, because the remaining 70%, goes into an undesignated account from which we can draw for any projects. That's about that. Any discussion from committee members or questions from the audience?
I agree with it.
Moving on, our last one, and it's interesting that we really only have 1 big funding article this year. I think this is pretty unique. And that actually is to spend, allocate up to 350, well, we will be allocating $350,000, 35,000 of which is coming from open space reserves, and 315,000 from undesignated reserves for the rehabilitation of the playground at the H. Olive Day School at 232 Main Street. This is going to include both, this is the playground that as you drive into the school, it's on the left, it's 20 years old, it's no longer ADA compliant, it is falling apart. The existing playfield is built, it's not even a playfield as they say, it's a dust bowl that's built on the existing leaching system, I believe. So this is going to involve redoing the playground with new equipment. I think there are some structures that can be reused, the proper surfacing, and then updating the playfield so that it is a usable playfield. It'll include fencing and I believe a walking path around the perimeter. I think it's important to note that the school department is contributing $107,000 to this project, so it's not being entirely funded by community preservation funds. Also, this also includes, in addition to the playfield and the equipment and the surfacing, it's also going to include the installation of a well so that the playfield can be maintained, the playground structures can be cleaned, and we're not pulling from town water resources. Anyone have anything to add on this particular project? I should mention Amproto and the Recreation Department are 100% in favor of this, and this is something that we could not have done a year ago, and we're only allowed to do now because of changes that were made to the Community Preservation Act by the state legislature. So,
and the presentation that night was very detailed as we discussed it.
right, the
Just so
school
that everybody knows.
school department came with a detailed
Quite a
estimates and
presentation, yeah,
right.
Spent quite a bit of time.
and I say they will be doing a presentation also at town meeting on this project in conjunction with this warrant article. Anyone else, anything to contribute? Do you want to say anything about the H. Olive Day playground? If no, that's
I
fine.
don't know if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. As far as I know, they're moving forward, so.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, that is the end of the warrant articles. And we can move into the annual work plan. Again, this is something that is mandated that the committee undertake every year. We basically review our accomplishments of the past year. We have goals that are set in conjunction with the master plan for our 3 areas of affordable housing, historic resources, and open space and recreation. And we go through and we kind of update those goals every year as to what we have in mind going forward. So I'll try to, this is always kind of a very dry read through the plan kind of thing, and I'll try to get through it quickly, but providing information. Our accomplishments in calendar year 2012, which also will be in the town's annual report. We did have the Norfolk Grange completed its work that was funded with community preservation funds. This included septic roof drainage, a building addition, interior renovations, handicap ramp, utility, ADA compliant restrooms. Last we heard, they are expecting to have an official opening in September as they continue to work on their own on additional projects within the building. The Gumps Farm project is also ongoing and continuing. 4 house lots were conveyed to the Affordable Housing Trust, as most people have probably seen. 2 have already been built. The remainder of the parcel is going to include the new Kids Place playground, community gardens, and trails. Right now, we're in the process, all the planning is pretty much done for the Kids Place playground and the parking. You can bring them up. And is just about ready to go out to bid. And then the phase 2 will be doing the trails in the community garden. Last town meeting, voters also approved a $300,000 transfer to the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust for the creation of affordable housing in Norfolk, and $100,000 for an affordable home at 82 Main Street. Hopefully people have seen it right now on Town Hill. Another item that was funded with CPA money was a historical plaque detailing the present and past road structure and past and current locations of historic landmarks. So that's a really interesting thing to take a look at. We have been through a lot of discussion for the need for athletic fields, especially because fields were lost with the construction of the new Freeman Kennedy School. And that led to the funding of an athletic field and park amenities strategic plan at the Fall Town meeting to assess recreation needs for the next decade. And that also, proposals have been received on that and will be discussed. A couple other historic projects were approved at the Fall Town meeting, rebuilding the steel door of the crypt at the Pondville Cemetery and grading improvements, and exterior repairs at the Tramp House on Town Hill. One change actually to this committee also occurred because the town redistricted into 3 precincts from 4 as I believe, a cost-saving measure. We previously had representatives from all 4 precincts on this board, so we had a change in our, in our bylaw that allowed representatives from 3 precincts and then 1 at-large representative. We have a financial overview in our annual work plan. Again, this will be posted on the website once it is voted and approved today. It details our beginning balances and our state match, our funds available. And our funds available basically right now that are unencumbered are $4.2 million. That includes reservations and projects expenses already. Goals that come from the master plan for affordable housing, basically, it's pretty intuitive. It's to increase the number and diversity of affordable units. And all along, we've been supporting the Affordable Housing Trust with both monetary assistance and assistance with payment programs in order for them to continue to work toward this goal. For open space and recreation, we recommend for acquisition properties that contribute to the character of the town. And that's not just open space, but it's preservation of historic landscapes, it's wildlife corridors, public drinking water, other significant natural resources. Part of the action plan going forward is to complete phase 1 of the Gumps development, which I mentioned a little earlier, and then get into the second phase, which is the community garden and trails. We have offers from the Lions to assist with the trail work when we're ready to proceed with that phase. We are continuing to work on a very stubborn project that we've been working on, which is a parcel on Campbell Street that is an access to Highland Lake. The title isn't clear. There's discrepancies in the size of the property, and it's just been a very slow investigation to try to figure out how we can actually get that parcel for the town. A new thing that we will be discussing later this afternoon is to investigate the feasibility and benefits of constructing a new dam at Highland Lake. This would improve water quality and the ability of the town to control the water there. Mention the H. Olive Day playground, which is coming up. And then as an ongoing basis, we continue to look at parcels in town that, should they become available, or even that we might approach property owners that would be of interest and value to acquire. And our historic goals are basically to implement the recommendations of a 2006 historic property survey that was done. And we have ongoing projects. The restoration of the Pondville Cemetery is ongoing in various phases. And the Historic Commission would also like to proceed with a second oral history of Norfolk, and also working toward establishing historic districts and having historical reservations placed on properties that are of significance. Our administrative goals, basically is just that, to support the board through administrative and technical support and professional development. We are hoping to design a logo for signage that can be installed at community preservation projects to identify them as such. We think that would be of value to the town, better visibility of where their monies are being spent. and we continue to belong to the Community Preservation Coalition. Our committee membership, as I mentioned, we have three precinct members and an at-large. We have representatives from Conservation, Historic, Housing Authority, Planning Board, and Recreation Commission. And that is basically the summary of our annual work plan that must be done every year. And if anyone has anything to add from the committee here, I'd be happy to.
I think this is a lot.
It's a lot.
It says it all.
Says it all. Questions from our audience? Hearing none. Pardon me?
Did you mention Town Pond?
No, I actually didn't mention Town Pond, and we can add that in. I think, unless I accidentally skipped over it.
I didn't see it in there.
No, I think we should add it in. We can. It's not, we haven't voted it final yet, so.
We talked about accomplishments for the year 2012, and it just slipped through the crack.
Yep.
It is ongoing. I mean, and it's, I don't know if anyone's been down, but it's really quite amazing to see the difference so far.
So can you tell us what they've done down there?
Do you have the microphone?
Sure, I'd be glad to. So we've done a fair amount of clearing. The berm, when you walk down the gravel path, there's a trail that goes through the woods, and there will be an access from that path to the berm that surrounds the pond. But that berm has been cleared and been treated of invasives, and it's really a clear walking path now.
All the way?
Yeah, all the way. Well, except there is one area that an Eagle Scout is going to be working on this spring, and part of his project is to put a footbridge on if you're looking at the weir, to the right of the weir, because there's an excess, like an overflow area,
Yes.
that it's just much easier if if it's fairly dry out, you can jump. If not, you might not make it. So there's gonna be a footpath there. There's some bat houses have gone up as part of an Eagle Scout project. DPW cleaned out the road going down. There were some issues about where the road was, so that was cleared out, and it's wider. And right at the turn, it's about a 90-degree turn. There's also been an Eagle Scout project that there's some picnic benches in there now. So we're still waiting to hear from the railroad regarding the fence. And I also have someone coming in and looking at the circulation of the spring that is fed into the pond. It goes through a pipe, and it seems to be not as bubbly as it used to be. So we're going to probably blow out that pipe if we can.
Are the fishing
If we need to.
platforms still?
The fishing
Anticipated?
platforms are still anticipated, but we're waiting to hear from the railroad regarding the fence. And the fence it's a lot of money. So just like we had the Norfolk County do the survey because it was free, we didn't, and it wasn't anything that we needed to do right away. So we're waiting for the railroad, and we are, as I understand it, we are on the list. And that fence is, we're talking probably $20,000 worth of fencing.
So you need to extend it?
They need to. They definitely need to extend it so there is an access onto the railroad tracks. There are a couple of areas that are very close, like you just, from me to you, you'd be on the tracks. So, hopefully the railroad will pay and put up the fencing, and if they don't, then that's going to significantly limit what we can do. So I'm really waiting, and I've asked again, already this spring. And
Can I ask a question regarding the fence? The fence was always there or wasn't there?
there's never been a fence.
What was the priority associated with putting up a fence?
Well, there's a parking area, and if you're very close to the railroad tracks, and the railroad tracks, if you have children there, you really need to have a fence. You're very close. I mean, there's some areas when you drive in, you're further away, but along the parking area, as you get closer to the access road down to the pond, it's a stone's throw. It's if that. I mean, it's
Right.
really very, very close.
Great.
And I think we all know that railroad tracks are pretty attractive to kids.
Yes.
So.
Town Pond is actually here as, it's the last item under open space recreation. It says complete Town Pond restoration with the construction of 3 fishing platforms. Would you modify that to be, is there a more accurate way to state what the completion is?
Oh, yeah. It got stuck down below somehow.
And
I'll
the
move it up.
numbering,
Action
the numbering
6.
needs to be fixed.
Yep,
Okay,
I,
there's 2 5s
Yep,
and there's
I see it.
2,
that was me. I did that.
there's 2 8s and there's 2 5s. How would you, so it says, complete the town pond restoration with the construction of 3 fishing platforms.
and that's for this year? Is that
that's
what's
an
the
action
time?
In
item.
general,
In general.
over time.
Well, I would say it's been, the 3 fishing platforms is the maximum. We were really targeting on two with one larger one first. So I don't know that there will be 3 eventually, but that's what we planned. We sort of maximized it. That was the
I'll put in
maximum.
up to 3.
Up to 3.
Is
All right,
there
and I'll
other-
update that action item.
Are there other actions besides the fishing platforms that are left to be done?
Other than what I
The fence.
Yeah,
just
just if
talked
you could
about?
explain, if you could put in words what you,
Oh, I've got it.
okay, thanks.
I can do it. All right, I'll update that action item and make sure that I put in under accomplishments what has been done with the berm and all that. So I think I wasn't sure exactly what had happened. Anything else?
So it should be 8
Oh, it's like
actions, right?
6, 7, 8. Yeah, and we'll move that last one up that got stuck underneath the list of parcels. All right, I will do that. Any other discussion?
Chickatawbut fell off the list. The right of way. On purpose? Okay.
I mean, I don't think it's gone, but since there's been no action on it in quite a number of years, I can put it back on.
Not my call.
Anything else from anyone? Okay. So I guess at this point, it is a public hearing, but we do need a vote to approve it as amended with the addition of the updates on Town Pond.
If you're going to an approval, then I have one more really minor thing.
Sure.
In the introduction paragraph on financial overview, the second to last sentence, until 2013, Norfolk had a 3% surcharge and was eligible to proceed.
Mhm.
I would suggest we should probably say until fiscal year
Oh, thank you, yes.
2013.
Absolutely. Okay. Anything else? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. So that is
Nice job, by the way.
And I thought it would be the end of our public hearing, so I'll entertain also a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Is there a second? Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Our public hearing is closed. Okay, I have 2 things here. So I think what I'd like to do for a moment, before we get into our real business items, is take this opportunity to thank Andrea for all her years of service on this board, because she did not run for planning board this year. Her term will be up, and she will no longer be our appointed person from planning board, at least as an elected official. There is possibility she could return to the board in the future, which would be wonderful, but at this point, This is her official last meeting as an elected planning board representative. So I want to thank her. Andrea has been behind several land acquisitions, and she's the one that keeps us on track with regard to what we have to do to fulfill some of the requirements of the CPA Act, like doing the annual work plan. She is our person that says, we must do this. And she has worked tirelessly for the Community Preservation Committee. She has absolutely the best interests of the town of Norfolk at heart at all times, and we just really appreciate all her expertise and all her contributions that she's given to this board.
Here,
So,
here, here,
Here,
here.
here. Thank you. So, Bob and Guy was here first. So I guess our first order of business, besides the public hearing, is an idea that Paul had brought forward to put in a dam at Highland Lake. And this is an idea that actually had surfaced when the acquisition of this property was brought up initially, and we kind of tabled it at the time because we were just dealing with the acquisition. The owner of the existing dam, which is off the property, was interested in selling to the town. At that point, the DPW head at that time, and this board was not in favor of purchasing an older dam. I mean, I think basically that's kind of it in a nutshell, as best of my recollection. So Paul had come up with an idea that we might take a look again into putting a new dam in on the town-owned side of Highland Lake. As many residents know, Highland Lake, especially in the summer, has issues with algae blooms and I think smell and
Water height.
and all those kind of things that are have been out of the town's control. So Paul went forward and got some information on potential of putting in a dam, and we've asked Bob McGee, DPW, to come in because it's his input is valuable in this. And
Just for the record, I did invite Matt, who put this together, to be here. Unfortunately, he couldn't. I asked him very, very last minute.
okay,
Should there be any questions that needed to be answered outside of the, standard, why, who, what for?
so basically we've received a proposal for an investigation of the feasibility of installing the dam and also looking at
Yeah. So
Existing
what?
one.
So
Go ahead.
what this is, and as you guys kind of all know, this kind of was. I tripped into this on my morning trips to Franklin to start my day with Franklin's construction of their dams along, I think it's Chestnut Street?
Pleasant Street.
Pleasant Street, yeah. It's that whole conservation property on the left-hand side as you go towards Franklin. And the town manager comes into the same coffee shop, and I asked him about it and sang the praises of the company, MAS, who was actually doing the project. They're based out of Franklin. And then, so I contacted MAS. They put me in touch with Pear Corporation. Pear is the designers and engineers of the project. MAS is the construction, the GC. And so Matt and I walked the property, and we looked at the trestle where the water leaves Highland Lake. And so we talked about, an appraisal of costs, and what this would buy us would be a budgetary number to propose for various dam alternates, whether it's flush up against the face, building off the existing face, or you make a sculpted out dam. I forget the technical name for the two different types of dams. The engineering, the permitting process, the construction process, that type of. If this is a $50,000 project, if this is a $350,000 project, so that's what this proposal would buy us. Much like when we purchase a piece of property, it just draws all the costs together, and then allows us to decide if that's something that the town wants to move forward with. So obviously the benefits. And I did invite Bob McGee to, for his input as to it. Bob, maybe you want to speak to anything?
Really, I'm just here to learn, Paul, because you talked to me not too long ago, and I think the first time we talked, it snowed 3 times since then, and I forgot all about it until you called again. And really, since I've been employed here, I've been up there twice, 3 times, 2 times in cold weather, and never really looked around like I did today. I went up there today again, and I just wanted to also pulled some files from our DPW. It has some some property documents in there. And I took some pictures if you wanted to just pass that around. I don't know if that helps at all. But I just wanted to get familiar with the dam. It's quite a piece of work. It runs underneath the railroad, and it'd be interesting to see how it was constructed. It's just an amazing piece of granite sculpturing and mechanical advantage. And
Now, were you on the lake side or were you on the dam side?
I was on the Campbell Street side.
You were on the Campbell Street side.
That's where those pictures are from.
Looking at the present dam.
So this is the existing
Okay.
dam?
That's the existing dam.
Is the existing dam not being familiar with the pictures, is the structure underneath the MBTA right-of-way a dam structure, or is it just, isn't the dam farther downstream?
I think what it really is just it's a culvert.
That's what I thought it was.
It's an old-fashioned, very unbelievably constructed Stonehenge type of construction culvert with overflows for certain elevations, but no control. And I think it was diverted at one point to supply power maybe to whatever kind of mill was once there.
Yeah.
And you can see from some of the drawings I got there, it mentions that old mill.
So
Yeah.
Bob, what we're referring to as a dam is actually a culvert. Is that what you just
Well,
said?
what's existing is a culvert. If there's something else, I think
There's a control mechanism in there for water height.
I thought that was down below.
Yeah, that's this right here.
I think it is down below.
Boards.
It could be. I mean, it's not on the
See, I
Highland
thought
Lake
it
side.
was
It's on the
like-
Campbell Street side.
Right.
I thought
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not.
I-
It's not on the
It's
Highland
on
Lake side.
it's on private property.
It's on private property, right. And so when I walked the property, we didn't go on that side. We stayed strictly on the Highland Lake side. So my proposal would be to, as opposed to buying that property, taking over existing structure, looking at the liabilities and the costs associated with that, if we control the water on our side, are we in a better position to control the quality of the lake, vegetation, things of that nature?
I got to believe you're right. I wish I could, I don't have the expert advice for that. It's a trade in itself, and I have very little experience with it, other than we control right now a little bit down at Merrill Lake, and we have something a little bit more sophisticated over at City Mills.
Yeah. I did, when I spoke to Matt, I did ask him about, he said this is a low-risk dam. So in other words, if there was ever a catastrophic
That's that right there.
collapse of any kind,
Looking down.
the risk of loss of life and property damage was extremely low. So he said that was really a good thing that worked in our favor.
Campbell Street.
I wasn't as concerned about that so much as I was
this is a
concerned about,
roof.
we do have
And that's Campbell.
the asset of the lake, and we do have kind of an asset. We do have access to the water, the water. This would allow us ways to control the vegetation, such that maybe in the winter you lower the water, you freeze off the vegetation. Invasive species can't take hold. It's more natural. And Dan, maybe you can speak to like that. Control measures like that.
I'm sorry, I was looking at the pictures, Paul.
Why is it important
Just controlling
to have a
vegetation
dam
and stuff
on
like that
Highland
through
Lake?
lowering of water and
You can lower the
die back.
Yeah, one of the ways of doing it is lowering the water, and then when the plants start growing, raise the water up, and the change in light levels is one way to help control that. But it means you have to have the ability to lower and raise the
Right.
water a significant level.
So, and every year this lake weeds over and gets all milfoiled.
Somewhere different.
I'm sure there's leaching
This is
issues.
lakeside.
So this proposal would, it would take soil samples to find out if there's heavy metals and things of that nature in there that we'd have to be concerned about. And, the impact associated with the trestle, it would investigate those costs, the permitting process, the requirements. It would look at all of that.
I think also it would be, aside of that, it's quite a remarkable and beautiful place. And I'm still not a little fuzzy as to what we're talking about for aesthetics, because it could look really nice. I mean, seeing the water come down right now, but it's all, the property is owned by somebody else, and, sometimes you'd see a car being fixed next to it, and, just trees not being cared for and so forth, and not to downgrade who owns the
You mean
property.
on the Campbell Street side?
Right. But are we talking about taking
talking
possession
that
of
side.
any of that?
We're not
Right.
talking it. We're talking.
Okay, just control
Our
of the
side.
water.
Yeah, our side, town side.
Actually, to give you a chance to think for a minute, I'm glad that Bob brought that up, because the discussion is about the property below the dam, centered on, we didn't take it because of the dam. But if, just for institutional knowledge, the fact that there was an existing building on the property, we haven't taken a property with an existing building. The fact that there was different types of more urban uses than other properties that we've evaluated, raised a lot of potential issues. We weren't interested in the property for a number of reasons, not just the dam. But not taking the dam, caused concern for the water management issues associated with the lake. We own the water of Highland Lake, but the embankment is the MBTA's. And I don't see anything in this scope about either Pear Corporation or us entering in discussions with MBTA, because they're
That would be
kind of
part
a
of the-
big deal.
That would be part of the engineering
Yeah.
and permitting process.
I think ownership ought to be really clearly established, and they should tell us who the right person, and you can speak to this, who the right person to speak to at MBTA is, because it's a behemoth.
That would be their responsibility to get the right people.
Yeah, I just didn't read, the way I read that permitting issue, that permitting description, I didn't see anything in there about ownership. So I wouldn't assume
I thought there
that
was.
that they're going to enter into discussions. And Bob, I don't know what it really means to enter into discussions with the MBTA. I just assume it ain't easy.
I don't think
This is,
MBTA owns it, Andrea.
Permit requirements do.
I know that's the
MADCR,
question, is the ownership
Somebody
is
else
question.
owns it. They just
COE.
lease it.
Okay, that's a question.
But
If it's
there
not,
was.
if we don't have to
I
deal
mean,
with them, that'd be great.
it was specifically discussed because he's very familiar with, the fact that there's an active train line there.
Yeah.
It was very specifically discussed.
I wouldn't recommend we sign anything unless it's very explicitly stated.
Oh, we could
Well,
certainly add.
we're not signing anything. We're just, seeing if we can fund it, so.
The other question is Barbara Bartholomew, who's our historic researcher, who researches very effectively. She said that this dam actually belongs to the mass correctional, because of in the past, there was that issue with the sewer spillage, and that there's even a sign up there somewhere that says property of Massachusetts Correctional Institute. I don't know what the exact term is, but it's
On the dam?
it's just right in that area. Yeah. I don't know if it's on the dam or if it's on a tree near the dam, but yeah, I mean,
Ownership might get difficult.
ownership is very murky. Barbara thought it was owned by the prison.
Because we know how hard the triangle is.
Oh,
This ought to be even better.
But we can't do a darn thing if we don't know who the owner is.
Right.
We could do this report. We could never take an action.
I'll get you that picture that she referred to. I can't remember.
So did I give you time to think?
Yeah,
Okay.
Seems pretty complex. All the technical issues issue you just pointed out, so forth.
It
I
would
do
be a
have some
sh-
people I deal with at the Mass Commuter Rail, but
Yeah, it would be a
way I
shame
can
to
help, I
see that,
certainly will.
it would be a shame to see that lake just, start to weed in and just fill up and choke out, I mean, that, I was behind the purchase of that property, and that was one of the things that really, kind of inspired me was just, we don't have a lot of properties like that,
Right.
we have down by Camger, where they fish quite a bit.
yeah, that's one that's going to be coming up shortly for repair. It's deteriorating now. The concrete's expired. Those guardrails and all that cast of concrete is.
Yeah.
And I believe we took it over now. It's, it's under 20 feet, so it's under our jurisdiction. It's not under the Mass Highway inspection. And Camden doesn't manage it anymore. So I think it's ours to, been out there a few times and so forth, but
Is there only one dam for the two pond structures?
that I know of, right at the Main Street. Yeah.
So in the deed, the pond was purchased by the town,
Highland
And it-
Lake.
the lake, and it doesn't say.
There was physical property around it as well.
It looked, yeah, there is,
How
but
do
I
you
think,
purchase a lake
I
without
think our
knowing?
line
Oh, no,
goes
we
on
have
the.
physical property around it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know that, but
It's
it
less-
doesn't state who owns
It's
it.
less than 10 acres, so you can have private ownership under the dam, under the water.
Oh,
But the survey we have shows a line across the face of the right-of-way. And Dan's questioning, probably rightfully so, if it's a right-of-way that's owned by a different individual, or it's a right-of-way
which
that's
right-of-way are
owned
you
in
talking
fee.
about? Which right-of-way are you talking about?
The MBTA Railroad
Okay.
embankment. So we go along the face, our property line goes along the face of this structure.
Right,
This structure is on the property line.
yeah. No, it's obviously, it has to be investigated, if we're gonna, consider it.
So
And it
Paul,
would be an integral part of the proposal.
can you summarize what's in these 9 pages for us who've just seen this 10 minutes ago? And what's the first step that?
Well,
you
the
would
first
like us
step would
to
be,
take?
do you support the initiative to pull budgetary costs together for the sum of $3,000? And those summary of costs, those, appraisal of costs would include the engineering, the permitting process, the environmental impact, the testing, the construction phase. They would all be budgetary numbers that we could then put forward and, see if it's something that the town wants to move forward with.
So this
by
is,
doing everything on our side.
Correct. Yeah.
And my understanding, I believe, because I had questioned something in here, is that they actually would take a look at the existing dam that's on private property.
I did ask him about that, and he said that wasn't part of the,
Not part of it.
not part of this anyways.
Okay.
It could be part of,
The 3,000.
of the 3,000, yeah, sure. I mean, of the
broader.
project, yeah.
It says under activities not included, it says completion of Phase 1 or Phase 2 dam safety inspection and evaluation.
Yeah, if they have to get people,
Suggests there's going to be no,
yeah, if they have to get people in the water, outside of, what they initially give us, then there was a separate fee schedule. But right now, there's no proposal for any of that type of thing.
Do we have a topographic survey of the area of the dam in AutoCAD format? Because that would be a whole nother expense to come up with if we don't.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't say that I have it on file. I don't remember. We're just going through all our maps and stuff, and that never came up. I never saw it. I don't have it cataloged.
there was, the classic sewer break had a box of material in the Board of Health or Conservation Commission's possession.
think
I
it's-
don't think we ever found a bathymetry, but I do know that there's some work that was done.
Well, not, the bathymetry would be under the water, but
Yeah.
this is referring to the area of the dam and impoundment. So, I mean, it's
We don't even know the elevations.
yeah, it's the
Okay.
tracks, it's everything, it's that whole area. And, I mean, I only know of one real way to do it is by aerial photography.
And it says, we would provide available topographic survey of the area.
Access to all areas of the dam, well,
That was what I had questioned.
Yeah.
That was what I had asked Paul, and that was initially that you thought that they would go look at the old dam, but, so maybe that needs to be clarified. That could be something boilerplate that they put in, but
yeah, I think so.
it looks almost like a boilerplate item,
Well, we can only provide what's available,
right?
and it could be nothing. And it's, hopefully DPW would have, if we had it, the safest place to keep it would be at the DPW. But it might be at Concom.
I can make a phone call to Norfolk County engineers as well. They may have something on
Yeah, I
file.
mean,
They're all over the place. It
Yeah.
amazed me with what they have.
They were making the assumption that we had like GIS information on this, and you know,
GIS is different. That's not a topographic survey.
okay, well, yeah.
There must be elevations and things for the MBTA.
I think the MBTA would have.
Yeah.
This is not, I mean, it's an older structure, but it's been recently improved in like our lifetime, right? It looks like a pretty solid.
I don't know. Even I've
Even the
got that little folder in there has some, I don't know what it is, a topo of, but there's some elevations. But it dates back to the 30s, so it's
Oh, so
not my lifetime.
So I just might be seeing some recent rock scree that was just
I'll
thrown down.
search around. Something exists. They didn't just build that with as they went. So there's something there. Where the MBTA must have some drawings, but Norfolk County engineers are amazing. They can hunt down all that information.
It is.
So what I'm hearing is that there definitely is interest, but maybe we need to find out a little more about what we have available to provide. And
I'm
then,
gonna find that stuff that Barbara found that said
Okay.
that it changed hands during the sewer crisis, so that,
because then if you thought the DEP owned it, or,
MBTA.
no, the dam, the existing dam.
Dam?
I thought that it had something to do with the,
DCR.
with the
DOC.
DOC, sorry.
Department of Corrections. Yes, exactly. And that, I think even in Norfolk Revisited, there's a sign that says,
Oh, all right.
but I'll ask Barbara about that. I'll
Because
write
in
myself a
which
note.
case, if we were to construct our own, then we'd be removing theirs, well, not removing it, but rendering it
Inoperable.
inoperable. So there might have to be discussion with DOC.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think we have a little information to find out.
Stop brewing.
But overall, I mean, you think you'd be in favor of being able to control
It makes great sense.
if everything
Yeah.
worked?
I mean, in the last couple of years, I don't know if I don't think that we could say we're in a drought, but water tables haven't been high. But back in 2010, when the water tables were high and we were getting those extraordinary rains, I was getting calls from that lake. And all I could do at the time was go back to, I think it was the family that owns or has some control up there. He'd get in a boat and he'd go to some, maybe over to where the culvert is and unplug it or something like that. But he was controlling the water. I never really knew how he was doing it or anything like that, but I was pretty much paralyzed. And it's not a good feeling when you're trying to serve the public. So to have some control over that would make a lot of sense to us.
We know that particular family believes that they own.
But,
The dam.
and he wanted us to buy
Right.
the dam from him,
Right.
so.
All right.
That should also be part of the study. Should we fix the dam that's there?
Yeah.
No,
No.
because we want it on our property.
It's not our responsibility.
Oh,
We want it on town property
I see.
to have control of it.
It's a low hazard dam, so it's not causing any harm, but it's, how would you call that CPC work?
On a private property.
Right. Well, he wanted us to buy the property from him.
Yeah. What line is going down the center? Can I put you on the spot if I asked you what this plan was of?
I saw it about 2 hours ago.
Okay, so I would.
This is
It's a
part
10-inch
that goes under the.
FM pipe inside a 24-inch steel casing pipe.
Over the railroad, right?
Yeah.
What would that be?
Yeah.
What are you looking at?
What's this line?
Amazing.
What's this water line? Is this a
PVC?
water line?
Force main?
Is it a
10-inch
force main?
main?
Is it a septic? Is it a?
Is- I
It
don't
could be
even know.
septic. I mean, it's
Oh,
going
you're
in the
looking
wrong
at the
direction.
street map.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know if you were looking at the other pages.
It's a piece of a map, so it doesn't have topography on it, which is what you wanted.
Yeah, it's a 10-inch force main PVC.
So you think it's either the sewer or water?
It's water.
It's water?
Yep. We don't have sewer, so.
Well, the DOC septic plant is right upstream. Yeah.
Excuse me.
When did that occur? That spill or the work that was done there or the big furor? Does anybody remember?
I was on Concom at the time.
70s?
Around. I'm
80s?
not that old.
Sorry.
Back when I was a girl.
When I was a child. I was going to say maybe the early 90s.
Okay.
I think it's the early 90s
Yeah.
because I don't remember.
We were in this town hall, I think, when it happened.
Wow. Been here that long.
That was 95.
I thought it was earlier than that.
Might have been
but-
before that.
Yeah.
Maybe the initial one was before that because there were a couple of them.
There is a whole box.
Yeah.
We found the box.
You found the box?
We found at the time of the sale. We found the box.
I should check with Betsy for the box. Betsy Vigil.
Marie.
Okay.
We were looking to see what we were buying.
Okay. Okay. So,
This looks like it's stuff that can come out of our administrative budget.
Yeah.
yep. It's kind of akin to an appraisal.
Yeah, it's evaluation.
Mhm.
Dan, didn't the neighbors come to a better communication with the dam manager, if not owner, so that he takes care of the elevations a little
think
bit
so.
more?
I think so. I think they have a pretty good relationship with him. I actually helped them one year clear out. You saw in those pictures the
Yeah.
culvert full of all that stuff.
Yeah.
And in the particular time I helped them, it was actually causing the lake level to rise up
Uh-huh.
to where people were about to have water in their houses.
And it was just a matter of clearing the debris.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when we did that, it went down. And in this case, it looks like the lake level was pretty low, and that stuff's just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
But it is something that accumulates all the time.
Yeah, so I that was the way I remembered it too, and so that you might have gotten less calls recently because they're dealing directly with their neighbor. I don't think the problem's gone away though.
All right, so I think what I'm hearing, if I can summarize, is that we're going to try to find some answers to some of the things that are in here, like what information we have available to provide, and including any topographical plans, et cetera, any information regarding to when there were the sewage spills, and just to clarify exactly also what they're considering as far as if anything, on the existing dam.
And ownership of the
And
right
ownership
of way
of the,
of the structure at the base. I would describe the structure besides calling it a dam.
well, there's the dam and there's the culvert under the,
It's a culvert under the,
Yeah.
it's the culvert under the embankment that this proposal suggests would be manipulating.
right. All right, so how would we find out the ownership of, under the culvert?
Probably the assessor's office.
And
Barbara.
Barbara's work.
Right. I'm going to contact Barbara and ask her to send you the information that she has.
Or ask her to pull it out and just highlight that one piece, because it's massive.
I don't know. I don't know what she's got. I don't know.
It's massive.
Is it?
Yeah. It's massive, and it's extensive.
All right. So, bottom line is, yes, we're interested in
I think so.
going forward if we can, but we need to get a little more information before we sign on the dotted line to do this, right? All right, anything else? I'll move on to our next topic. Bob, you can take these.
Sure.
Did you get a copy of the proposal?
No, I didn't know what you were talking about.
I'll forward it to you electronically too.
Thank you.
Any edits you think might be useful to that scope of work? Is Pear one of the companies that's an authorized vendor of yours?
No.
Ooh,
Who was it? Pear?
P-A-R-E.
They're based out of Rhode Island.
I've heard of them, but. So, because I'm coming into this late, this is a proposal for a certain price to have a consultant? Just.
No,
give
what it is, it's a proposal to pull together budgetary numbers that we could vote on to move forward with a project of a dam construction. So it would give us a couple of different dam alternatives, whether it's up against the face of the culvert or whether you build a dam structure around it, the watershed ramifications associated with it, and engineering, permitting, environmental impact, that, all those considerations. MBTA, permitting process, consultation fees, and so on and so forth.
Check it out.
All right, we're good. We'll move on. I guess just quick, there's not much on Gumps Farm, but I can hold up a couple of these pictures if you want to hold them back to me. Ian got some really nice 3D pictures, which she sent to me, and then I went to forward them to everybody, not realizing what an enormous file it was. So I got kicked back a lot of them. I don't know if anyone actually ever got it. I didn't realize how big it was when I tried to forward it.
I did bring samples of the playground, what it would look like, the surfacing.
Yeah, bring it forward. So where we're at is just the last final bits and pieces being finalized as far as the playground. And then I think we'll be ready to go out to bid. Did Kyle give you an indication of when he thought he might be ready to go when you spoke to him? I know he's on vacation this
He
week.
said soon.
Soon, okay. Well, I know he's on vacation this week.
I'm just trying to,
Wow, looks like baseball stuff.
David.
Okay. So, Ann has finalized her surfacing. That was one of the last things. And
Do these go in layers, or do they go?
No, actually, they, if you.
Do you mind? I just interrupted you.
design, This is an artificial turf that will go over a portion, and you looked at the design, there's an area that sort of looks like a road, and that will be out of the other.
Oh,
And
here it is.
additionally, this.
This is road? No.
Yes,
Yes.
this will, look at the picture.
It's the darker.
This is the
Stuff.
road, and this is the grass. They butt up against each other.
It's like ground up tires.
And then this is, actually, this is a longer warranty. It's a 10-year warranty. So this will also go under the swings and under where the slides come out. It'll be cut out, so you'll have and it'll be seamed in. So it's a longer wear. And this is cushy, actually. And it's all on a cushion base. So there's some give, but it's all meets all the ADA accessibility
So for
guidelines.
At-home folks, this is some of the apparatus. This is one that is, this is the Grange facade on one side. On the reverse side will be the old schoolhouse facade. And we have Norfolk fire truck apparatus. We have the Turtle Crossing. And the one that I held up originally was the overview of the whole thing with the swing set and all.
There's a sandbox, and adjacent to that is the green area, and there's roly-poly hills.
Roly-poly hills don't show in here, but they're adjacent to, and it's, typical, the kids like to roll down the hills kind of thing.
Using
And that's
some of the
something that's actually
natural
gonna be
spaces,
constructed,
play area.
in the land, into the landscape and vegetated. I've spoke to a representative for the Lions this week. They are most interested in working on the trails when we're ready to proceed there, and that will be at least after this is underway, because we can't really start constructing the trails until we kind of have this all at least laid out. And but they're very interested in that, so we're hoping maybe in the fall, late summer, fall, maybe they might be able to do some work on that. And I think that was about it on Gumps. I can't think there was anything else new.
There was one question on the well, and since Bob is here, do you know, I did actually get a quote for a well, for the HL of Day area. But wells are one of those things. You really don't know the cost until you start to dig. So at 300 feet, it's less than $10,000. But depends how
Right.
deep you have to go. So I don't know where that falls under the bidding process, or if it needs to be done. Does it need to be done?
We need to,
Do they need a well at
Doesn't
HL
need to be
Day?
done.
they need one at HL of Day for irrigation, and we need one here. Same thing for irrigation.
So it doesn't need to be done.
No, you want
Don't
a
wanna-
three-quarters, a good business
wanna-
I
practice.
thought there was existing water on property.
It's
Okay.
town water.
Huh?
Town water.
So we can't use
don't
town
wanna-
water?
It's more expensive to pay for town water, plus
expensive.
there are
Amazingly
watering
expensive.
restrictions with regard to town water as well.
I can speak at the HL Day School. You turn the spigot on the outside of the building, it's like it's a drop. It's just, you wouldn't even be able to, it's hard to fill up a little kiddie pool. I'm not kidding. It takes my counselors 45 minutes to fill up. They start at 10, it's the first thing they turn on in the morning. It takes probably 45 minutes to fill up 3 little kiddie pools.
Yeah.
Wow.
And plus, obviously, there's no automatic watering allowed in town, so we're not gonna have Bob out there with the hose. So, yeah, so both properties need to have wells. All right, any other questions on Gumps at this point? Okay, I think we can move on. Recreation Master Plan, since Ann is here. She forwarded to us a proposal from Gail for the Recreation Master Plan, which was approved at last fall's town meeting. And it was, as far as I could see, it was as we discussed when we developed the warrant article. Excuse me. So, do you want to just summarize it? You could probably just summarize it a little easier than I could, even though I read it through. Just brief of what it entails to look at and.
So it's looking at the layout of the existing athletic and recreational spaces that we have. It includes the fields, it includes the playgrounds. It does not include the layout of the trails in town, but it would include the trailheads. So it looks at the layout, and it's going to specifically address the layout of the fields as far as the ADA accessibility, as far as the sheds are concerned, as far as storage is concerned, and how we can improve the use of the property that we have, and look at the adjacent property if that is available or is not available.
Oh, make sure your microphone's on.
Oh, just went yellow, so. Or what?
It worked. Thank you.
So it's going to look at the properties and then assess the best layout of the properties. We have some pretty serious issues as far as field layout and lack of accessibility at the Freeman Kennedy fields. And we also lost fields because with the construction of the new school. So it's going to first assess what we have and see if the layout can be any different, which I really do feel at Freeman Kennedy it can be different. I don't know if it'll address all the needs, but the master plan or strategic plan will quantify the needs by really just looking at numbers, not because I said, oh, it would be really nice if we had another field. Like looking at the numbers and looking at the hours of use. I mean, field use can be analyzed statistically, and that's what it's going to be doing. And then it'll also be addressing possible other properties that may or may not have been identified. They're hard to find in town. So we've identified the one as a possibility. And it'll be looking at things like, a future build out of lights and water and it'll give us a 10-year. It's a 10-year plan. So it's what can be done, and of course the first things that will be addressed are the safety issues and ADA accessibility and the things that should be addressed first.
I didn't really have any questions reading through this. I'm not sure anyone else on the committee had anything they wanted to ask about it.
In terms of deliverables, Anne, a single bound copy will have an existing conditions-based plan and constraints mapping, and then different reports. Is there an actual, two comments. One is there an actual plan, and not a narrative plan, but an actual map
Yes.
of the town that has all the different existing plans, all the existing facilities located, all the trailheads located?
Are you at?
I'm asking if that's part of the deliverables.
Yes.
Because the project is a master plan,
Right.
when he says his existing conditions-based plan, I'm wondering if he means a map.
He does mean a map.
Okay. Can you also get the deliverable, instead of just being a single bound copy, you also get electronic copies?
Yes.
And can you get draft copies electronically to be posted for public comment? Because there's an opportunity. He says one of his tasks is consensus building. He's going to go to different He's going to go to the different town groups.
That'll be through us. That'll be through me.
He's not going to do any. He's not going to be whoever the project manager isn't going to be available at a public hearing, a public meeting to get input.
He will be. I mean, the contact to reach out to people. Yes, it'll all be publicized, and it'll go and to get in touch with the organizations. And he's not doing it on his own. He will go through recreation. Right. I mean, I'll make sure that the documents are available and that the organizations know and they're invited. And
well, that's wonderful. At this price, I think he should. I think he should make a draft copy of the plan available on a website, and he should be putting out
this draft copy.
Yeah, so isn't that the first? Isn't that an item here?
Yes, but that's pretty easy for me to do.
And I'm just suggesting that most of them do it for us.
You mean like a PDF?
There's nothing here.
It can't be anything for him to do it, convert into a PDF.
I know. I just don't
We're
see.
talking apples and oranges here, I think.
Maybe I'm not understanding.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. That
What is it, Andrea, that you want available? The final
Both
recommendation
the-
plan?
Both the final to be available, they're providing a single bound copy, which is
As
really.
opposed to electronic.
They're providing a single bound copy, period. That's what they said.
I'll talk to him about that.
That seems weak.
It is, and
It seems like, we should have a copy, you should have a copy,
There will
and
be-
it should be available
There will
electronically.
be copies. I've actually, in my discussions with him, we talked about copies, and I didn't catch that in there,
Okay.
so.
And then
there will
it-
be copies.
Can you
And then
change the
it-
language to say electronic, an electronic format?
It says deliverables. The final submission will be a bound copy. And then the second point was more process oriented. He's going to have a consensus building. He doesn't say he's going to have a single information meeting in which he invites all these people. He says he's going to have a consensus building process. It's like, that's really great. He's going to build consensus. That's like, he's not going to get a final consensus. So I just think that language is a little,
Well, I think it's.
I think that language is not a deliverable. It's not, he can't reach consensus and get the product done on time. He can only put out a draft and get as many people to comment on it and try to,
So isn't that consensus building versus consensus?
Consensus building is usually a process that happens over time, and it's not over until you have all reached consensus, which is different from
Okay, so
commenting on a draft, getting as
Maybe
much
it's the
comment.
wrong word.
Yeah, it's really the wrong
That
word.
Consensus building is not necessarily everyone agreeing,
Well,
but.
coming to a consensus would imply that
Right,
everybody is
right.
at a place of agreement, though.
Yeah.
So, do we pick a better word?
Well, it's just look at Faith on page 7, review of redevelopment consensus and consensus building, and tell me if you think. Tell me. I just been to two. He's going to have 1 or 2 evening sessions. I'm just really afraid of anybody thinking he's going to
That
come
it's
into
gonna
this
be
town
settled.
and settle it.
Yeah, it's not.
So I
don't even know what-
That's not how I interpreted
Develop
that. That's not,
priorities, develop a plan is.
it's a plan,
Or
it's a
what you
plan,
mean.
it's a strategic plan. I
Yeah.
understand what your point is, but I don't think he was ever saying, and I'm gonna get everyone to agree on everything.
Yeah. Well, he's going to make modifications to the planning, working with the town to develop. No, he's going to be working with the town to build consensus that the planning makes the best use of available resources. I just would be a little nervous. It's possible. I just would be very nervous of consensus.
Is this the only proposal we have?
Yes.
Because, I'm just thinking, with the number of companies that wanted to develop Gumps, there should be a whole bunch out there that are willing to do this.
There may be. I have to say that there are a couple of others, and I looked into them. Gale Associates really has a niche in doing recreational master plans. They've done Rentham, Franklin, Needham, Newton, Dartmouth College, Curry College, Springfield College. And I think I'm sorry, I can't remember what I just said. Franklin, I said Franklin. They've done Stowe, they've done Wayland, they've done Sudbury, all exactly what we're doing. They've done them all, and
These towns have been happy with.
yes, and there are a couple of other companies. I've looked into one, and one did a plan in a town in Connecticut, much further away. I just have to say, I've worked with Gale in the past and been sort of neutral on a different project entirely. But this is what Gale does well. And I've asked. I've been in touch with other recreation directors, and I keep asking. And there's a couple of people from another company that, that kind of thing. But Gale Associates does, and they've done it well. And you can look at the number of towns that they have.
You only got one bid, though, right?
I did only get one bid because it's a lot of work to get a bid. I worked to get information to go out, and I did, just based on the fact that all the other towns in this area have the master plan done by them, and they're very happy with it, and I didn't feel that I was gaining anything by reinventing the wheel.
I thought there was going to be more bids, but I don't know.
But those towns that you listed off are impressive. I mean, who you said they did work for.
Which other towns did they do?
I don't.
You listed
Yep,
many different towns
yep.
who have used them,
Yep.
is what I mean.
Yes. Okay. Sorry.
Impressive list.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Well, that's one of the things I looked at. I mean, I was like,
That's why you decided.
I found one bid, proposal for this that went out, and they also chose Gale after they went out to bid. And you don't have to go out to bid on this type of project.
Yeah, I would note also that town meeting had approved the money for this, and, technically Ann didn't even have to bring it to us. She's done it out of courtesy, I mean, it's up to her to hire who she feels is
That's what I
a
mean.
well-qualified
It's an impressive list of
person
people
for the
who
job.
hired.
So, but I mean, I want to tell you why I decided to do it. It's not.
So, anything else, or can we move on? I mean, Andrea, if you have other comments, you could, give them
No, I think this,
separately if you want.
yeah, I would just really, when you're not, when your mind is not clouded, look exactly at the deliverables, because that's all you're gonna get.
That's fine. I've actually already talked about to him about that, so I didn't catch that wording in it. So I do appreciate you pointing that out. But I'm not concerned about that because I've had that discussion with them already.
Yeah,
You can always put a little addendum in.
it's really expensive to get things printed. And it'll they could say it's an add-on. It's your deal, but they can say it's an
I'll
add-on.
make sure it's clarified before we sign the document.
All right. I think we can move on to the next topic. Was there anything new on the Myrtle Gold Street, Andrea? Any chance?
Myrtle Gold, no, she and I are still playing tag.
All right. We are checking with, Andrea's checking with National Heritage Endangered Species just to see if, this is a property at Myrtle and Gold. It has a proposed subdivision plan on it with a endangered species restriction. And we were just checking to see if a different use, which is lower impact, might result in a lesser restriction and therefore more usable land. So that's still ongoing. And we'll continue to work on that. I don't think there's anything new on the airport property? No, okay. And let's see, HLF Day Playground, the only thing I'll mention is that we mentioned it earlier, and it will be in town meeting. The moderators meeting is next Monday night, and I've been in contact with Linda Balfour from HLF Day and the superintendent, and they will do the presentation, and I will request the 5 minutes, 5 slides for them. So.
Has advisory board made a recommendation?
I have not been back into advisory board. They have not asked me to come in, and I'm seeing a thumbs up from the back of the room, which would indicate to me that they have.
They're in favor
are
of it?
positive on it. Okay.
Can I just make one note, just so the public knows? I mean, we're saying the HL Day Playground, but it's really much more than the playground. It's really a field development. I mean, they just have, they're doing a lot more than a playground. They're raising the level of a field, and they're really adding much more usable space to the area around the school.
I think I mentioned that like very early on. You might not have been in the room, but yeah, I probably didn't explain it all that well, but I did say they were improving the playing field, which is now dust. So, all right, I think if anyone wants, it's 9 o'clock. We have an executive session to go into, so we've got one of two options. We can kind of look at signs. Our designer isn't here. Or we can just go right into executive session.
Good night.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Ann. Thank you,
Yeah.
Bob.
I'd like to make a motion that we just go right into executive
Executive
session.
session.
I second the motion.
All right,
What's the purpose of the,
thank you. The purpose of the executive session is to discuss the acquisition of property. Thank you. I get to do that. Before we do go, I did read through 3 months of minutes, so I'll give my changes as they are to Michelle. I did have one question for the group. On that Myrtle Gold Street, have we ever publicly stated what the asking price is?
I don't think so.
I don't think we
Merlin
have.
Gold.
Because I don't think it was never given to us directly.
Don't remember.
Okay. I don't think it has been. Thank you. I just needed to clarify that for minutes. All right, so I'm going to give my edits on minutes, and Michelle can redistribute them, and we can vote them next time. All right, any other discussion on going into executive session for the discussion of the acquisition of property?
Since I said it.
Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think you have to do it, I
Opposed?
think you have to do it individually. Roll call vote.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
forget the specific on this all the time. All right, I know, bad. One of these days I'll remember. Just by then I'll be ready to retire. All right, roll call vote going into executive session. Tom?
Tom Tipser, yes.
Paul?
Paul Terrio, yes.
Cindy Andrade, yes?
Betsy Pine, yes.
Dan Crafton, yes.
Andrew Langhauser, yes.
Betsy Whitney, yes.
Okay, it is unanimous. Our regular meeting is adjourned at 9 o'clock, and we will go into executive session.